Hi. Um, I came across an article today and it got me thinking. Sometimes I play like tactical games online where you get to hear what young people are saying because they're team games. People, call out what's happening in the game and stuff like that. And usually I play with the sound off or that sort of thing because I'm like that. I'm shy. I don't normally talk, not even to do call outs or stuff like that, or I just want to casually play the game and not take it so seriously. Um, but when I do listen, what I noticed was that the characters in the game that are like white and male, but especially white, male, and older, the young people tend to say, I bet that character is a sexist, or I bet that character is a racist, or that sort of thing. And I've seen this attitude, and I know we're all kind of aware of it now that there's this talking point out there, that all like white males who are adults are bad, basically, that they're all racist, sexist, this, that, and the other. And because I haven't been like, I haven't when I was in school and then high school, we were taught a little bit of this theory in a sense. Like we were taught that white people had slaves in the past and stuff like that, and we felt bad about it. So I think that was like the start of it, even though we weren't taught like all of the details. There's no emphasis that like other cultures also had slaves in the past, and there we weren't told that like not every, I don't remember, or maybe it's just because when you're a kid you take everything personally, but I don't remember being told that like not every white person had a slave, or that was only in certain areas. The people who fought against it who were also white were not like celebrated or anything like that. There was a strong feeling of like, we should be guilty about this. You better not do this, even though you're just a child. So that's not even in your head. But so we grew up with a little bit of that, but now it must be really, really, really strong. And I came across, because all the young people that I hear, practically, if not all of them, seem to have this belief. And I came across an article just today. I don't remember what I was Googling, but I came across an article from 2012 that was in. I'm going to show it to you guys, but it shows like how strongly this belief and this attitude was pushed. Um, okay, I'm going to show it to you. Sorry, I'm slow. Firefox screen share. Okay. So there's this psychologist. I like reading psychology and health stuff and that sort of thing. And there was this Psychology Today article, The Punishing Personality Type. And I guess this guy obviously is politically against the American right, Republicans. I'm a Canadian, so it is what it is. This guy's giving an opinion piece, but in Psychology Today, he's talking about the punishing personality type, and the key piece to this article. I didn't know. I looked up the date only after I read it. I was like, he's really saying this? The key piece, like the centerpiece of this article, is right here. So the punishing personality type. Some punishers live on the left, where Stalin had his home. Stalin was super evil. We all know that. Some punishers live on the right, where Hitler had his. People argue that Hitler was right wing or whatever. When which I wasn't there. I don't know the politics of Germany at that time, and Hitler was a humongous liar. So even though they called themselves socialists, I mean, whatever. But I was taught this as a kid too, that Hitler was for real a right wing fascist. I'm not an expert on the labels, but certainly all of these dictators were evil dictators and controllers. Whether you call them fascists or communists or whatever, they all did the same thing, as far as I'm concerned. So he says something similar. He says all of that left and right has no real meaning to them. I would agree with that. They just want to punish, because he's talking about the punishing personality type. If he is a Christian white male, the poster boy for the punishing personality type. So this guy is saying that he believes, I guess, that Christian white men are the model example, the poster boy, the most likely, right, for being a punishing personality. Why is he saying that? Then he wants to punish his particular litany of hated objects. So he's going to tell you who Christian white men hate. So if he is a Christian white male, the poster boy for the punishing personality type, then he wants to punish his particular litany of hated objects. And when he says his, he means the Christian white male. That's who he's talking about right now. Women. So he's saying Christian white men hate women more than anyone else because they're the poster boy for it, right? He's saying they're the model of it. Blacks, Latinos, Jews, homosexuals, gypsies, which is not even a proper term. That's considered a racist term as far as I know. They prefer to be called Roma. Women twice, blacks 3 times, and so on. So this is strongly vitriolic. This is the sort of thing, I guess, that's being openly said and taught. And we know logically this can't be true. That the majority of Christian white men hate women, there's no reason for that. Blacks, there's no reason for that. Latinos, there's even more no reason for that, because Latinos aren't even, if they're mentioned in the Bible, they're not even called Latinos. I don't even know what a Latino would be in the Bible. Jews, okay, so I don't have anything against Jews, but there are some people who are anti-Jewish and also identify as Christian, but that doesn't mean that a majority of Christians or Christian white men are the majority or the poster boy or the model of people who would happen to hate someone who is Jewish. I personally don't, and I don't know any Christians in my life that do, but obviously there are people like that. Homosexuals, again, the Bible says that homosexuality is a sin. I know a lot of Christians who don't hate homosexuals. I don't hate homosexuals. But they do acknowledge that the Bible says it is a sin. Gypsies, again, that has no basis in, there's no reason why a Christian white male would be the model for being against someone who is a Roma. And then women twice, so this guy really wants to hammer that, again, there's nothing to say, Jesus never said thou shalt treat women worse than thyself. There's no reason to think that Christian white men would be particularly bad towards women. Of course, women are sometimes the target of misogyny, but this is not a uniquely Christian thing. It's just a bad thing that exists in the world, the same as racism or anything like that. Blacks 3 times. They really want to hammer the black thing, I guess, because the Christian is white, right? So it's as if just because you're white, you're automatically against blacks. We all know that's not true. Blacks 3 times, and so on. And then he refers to Albert Camus, who the only thing I've read by Albert Camus is the myth of Sisyphus, which I thought was an okay read. I know that obviously he's a French philosopher, so he was obviously white. He was an existentialist, so probably not a Christian. So I guess that saves him in the eyes of this author, that he's white and male, yes, but he was most likely not a Christian. So the only difference between someone who is a woman hating, black hating, Latino hating, Jewish hating, homosexual hating, gypsy hating, women twice hating, black 3 times hating person, it's not really that he's white and male, because Albert Camus is white and male. The only factor that's different is that he's a Christian. That's the coup de grace. This is the centerpiece. Look, if you look at the article, that's the turning point. That's the midpoint. That's where the denouement would be. Every article's written like not every article, but if you write an article, you write it like a story. So you have story structure. That's the spot in the story structure where the revelation would be, the big moment, the point of the article. Be right here, right there. And then the resolution. The punishing personality type never leaves and always returns. He refers to these people as rats. You can bet on him, you can count on him, you better prepare for him. He would punish you for this, that, blah, 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 blah. I'll find the word rat in here. It's here. There, it's right there. The punishing personality type is a rat that always returns. So he says it with something that you could agree with. Like someone who's out there and they're trying to punish people, or all the time, if they have some flaw like that, they're always punishing people's behavior, or that kind of controlling personality. Everyone can agree that that's a bad thing. So you start reading. That's why I was reading the article. So I was reading the article, and then the first thing he says is every Republican presidential debate. And I'm like, I came here for psychology. So I know right away that he has a political agenda, but then for real, it's not even actually about why is it bad to be a Republican in America? Like why does he think that's bad, right? So I have to keep reading. The punishing personality type is the name I am giving to a person who organizes his life around punishing others. So everyone can agree that's terrible. Such people have existed by the tens of millions and continue to exist by the tens of millions. They love to punish, they need to blah, 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 blah. So he's painting a picture of who he's talking about. They, whatever their surface may look like, rage's tremendous hatred and an unquenchable desire to inflict pain on others is what is underneath, is right under the surface. But already he's moved into speculation. So like, whatever the surface might look like, right? But it's supposed to be a psychology article, so maybe he's talking about a type of person who hides who they are, but is really angry underneath. You can still kind of buy it, but already it becomes speculation. It doesn't matter what someone looks like. For real, they're raging underneath. Well, who are these people who it doesn't matter what they really look like or how you think they are? For real, they secretly are raging underneath. Who are these people? Well, he tells you who they are in the crux of the article. The Christian white male, right? And to a great extent, the article is about Republicans. He names names. Says you can't reason with a punishing personality. So he's saying if you think someone is this punishing personality type, who you can't tell just by interacting with them, it's secret, it's underneath, right? It's hidden beneath the surface. You can't reason with them, right? meaning you can't have a dialogue, you can't have peace, you can't find out who they really are. So how are we supposed to find out who these people are? Well, you can identify them because they're Republican, white, male, and Christian. That's the point. I'll read the article. You can't reason with a punishing person any more than you reason with an armed intruder. Their energy is the energy of intrusion. They will always want things like identify cards. Okay, this I can agree with. I don't want super amounts of control in government, right? You need identity for absolutely everything, even to pick up medicine and all that stuff, Yeah, that's kind of bothersome for everybody, right? Surveillance, wiretaps, no one wants to be surveilled, no one wants to be wiretapped, and anything else that helps them intrude into the lives of the people that they are determined to punish. If that's a president or a government or something like that, I agree with him on this point. So again, he's garnering your agreement by telling you something that nobody would want. Nobody wants to be surveilled for no reason, wiretapped, and all this stuff. Especially by some maniac who wants to punish you just for existing. They want you in jail. They want their country to resemble jail. If there's a dictator like that, I agree. I don't want that. I don't want people going to jail for nothing. I don't ever want any country I live in or any country at all to resemble a jail. If they could turn the whole states into concentration camps, they would. That's a strong statement. So he's painting the entire Republican Party of the United States as Nazis, saying that they would want people in concentration camps. And I know that's patently not true. I've talked to people who are on the right in America, and I've not met this person. They probably exist. There's probably people like this, but to blanketly say that like this is the Republican stance, or which it seems to be what he's implying, is crazy. That is their ideal barbed wire, prison guards, punishment. So nobody wants that. Their rhetoric is the rhetoric of us versus them. Ironic, isn't it? Because that's exactly what this guy is doing. He is us versus theming right now. He's saying they might, you can't tell what they look like on the surface, but this is who they really are. Who are they? So it is always us. Who they so far is just the Republicans. That's all he's mentioned so far in the article up to this point. It is always, or punishing personalities who you can't tell who they are. It is always us versus them. They are those entitled to do the punishing, the people who look, act, and connive the way they do, and then the people who ought to be punished, them. So he's saying what he's doing. He's talking about them, right? Them may be their own wives, their own children. Everybody and anybody can be identified as needing punishment. So he's describing what he says is the punishing personality type. And certainly people like this probably exist. Not probably, they exist, but I wouldn't use the word punishment. It sounds like it's controlling, right? And punishment's a part of controlling. So he's talking about controlling people, in my opinion. But we'll use his words. It's his article. So punishing people exists. You punish that identified multitude any way you can. You rain down your God's loving hate. Now he mentions God for the first time. So that's obviously the point. You punish that identified multitude any way you can. You rain down your God's loving hate. So now we know that this guy is really talking about, well, we're going to find out he's really talking about Christians, but he mentions God for the first time, right? So he's angry at people. We can tell he thinks people who believe in God, he hasn't mentioned who that God is yet or anything like that in the article. That God that he's thinking of, that God's version of love is hate in his mind. And the people he's talking about who are punishing are people who believe in this God and who do what this God says, which is hate people while thinking that they're actually loving them. That's what he's saying. You spend ecstatic nights crafting bills of punishment. So he's talking about politicians now. You tirelessly access your sadistic soul and return with new embellishments. I'm not going to argue with him when it comes to there being bad politicians. And heck, there's got to be some evil politician out there who is happy to like make evil controlling bills and stuff like that. I'm sure that exists. I wouldn't argue with that. But he's the God thing is his emphasis. This is who he's identifying as being these people, right? Up to this point in the article, we could still say, oh, maybe he's just talking about Republicans, and maybe a majority of Republicans believe in, or at least claim to believe in, God, and he's lumping that in. But, you know, after reading the entire article, it's obvious that's the actual point of the article. Is not the defining factor is, yes, obviously he's attacking this political party, but also God, their belief in God, and specifically Christianity, right? It is easy enough to spot punishing personality types. So he's for real, he's trying to get this label, this idea, onto people on the right in America who believe in God. They will be busy punishing. Okay. They will be spending amazing portions of their day and their life looking for ways to punish. If they could beat you with a bat, they would. So this is speculation, right? That is what they really want to do. He's telling you that Republican Christians, the only people he's mentioned so far, are people who have, no matter what they look like on the surface, they have rage inside, and they would beat you with a bat if they thought they could get away with it or whatever. If they can't get away with that, they will do the sorts of things they are expert at doing. They will vilify you. So he's saying that these people will vilify you. That's clear, right? They will label you as the enemy, which is actually what he's doing. He's vilifying people who are Republican in America who will believe in God. That's who he's vilifying right now in this article. Exclude you, rob you, and probe you. Want some pleasure? Punish that. Want some rights? Punish that. What I think he means wants. Wants a piece of the pie? Punish that. So he's saying these people want to control everything about you. They don't want you to have happiness or pleasure or anything good. I mean, I am extrapolating, right? So not to put words in his mouth. They want pleasure, punish that. Want some rights, punish that. He's expressing that he disagrees with the Republican positions on probably abortion, because that's the most controversial for people who are into that political discourse or whatever. And then the other thing, I don't know that's the only issue I can even think of that involves God and Republicans and all that stuff. Oh, and this was written in 2012, so maybe he's talking about homosexual marriage. I don't remember when that was allowed or not allowed. So that's what he's really he's trying to paint his opposition as enemies, the people who disagree with him on those issues. That is what I would guess. That's my best guess. They may look more like a Santorum. I'd be able to confirm my guess if I knew what Santorum or any of these like stood for or anything like that, but I don't remember like what his platform was. But you know, my assumption is this is his point. They may look like a Santorum, more like a Romney, or more like a Gingrich. So he's naming specific people. These are like famous candidates in the right of America. they're all Republicans as far as I know, and politicians. Gingrich, I don't remember. Gingrich is either, I don't know if he's a politician. I think he's a commentator. They come in all shapes, sizes, and weights, but differences aside, they agree on one thing. Nothing feels as good as punishing. So he's just projecting that onto these people and anyone who holds their political beliefs and or spiritual beliefs, I guess. And I know that their spiritual beliefs actually aren't the same, because I know about Romney, and probably all of you know this about Romney because he was a famous presidential candidate. I think he's the one who is a Mormon. So nothing's but if they could punish all day long and not take breaks for other activities and other emotions, they would punish continually. It is their sweet spot, the thing they most love to do, their heaven. So he's using the religious language again, and he's saying that these people are sadistic. People who like to hurt others are called sadists. So he's saying that these people are sadists. And this is in a psychology article, Psychology Today. If the human race had somehow, through a cataclysmic epidemic of love, managed to eradicate punishment, they would reinvent it and reintroduce it. So now he's introducing us to his philosophy. His philosophy is that in a world of perfect love, there would be no punishment. And I agree. If everyone loved each other so much they never did anything wrong ever, there would be no punishment. Some publishers live on the left where Stalin had his home. Some punishers live on the right, where I read this part to you guys, where Hitler had his. All of that left and right has no real meaning to them. They just want to punish. If he is a Christian white male, the poster boy for the punishing personality type, then he wants to punish his particular litany of hated objects. So this list of people the Christian white male hates, according to this man: women, blacks, Latinos, Jews, homosexuals, Roma, women, blacks, again, and so on. The French existential writer Albert Camus ended The Plague, which is something he wrote, I guess, I must assume, his allegory about the Nazi scourge with the following lines. He knew that those jubilant crowds did not... He knew what those jubilant crowds did not know, but could have learned from books, that the plague bacillus never dies or disappears for good, that it can lie dormant for years and years in furniture and linen chests, that it bides its time in bedrooms, cellars, trunks, and bookshelves, and that perhaps the day would come when, for the bane and the enlightening of men, it would rouse up its rats again and send them forth to die in a happy city. The punishing personality type is a rat that always returns. So Albert Camus, I guess, here is making an analogy between Nazi ideology and the plague, which was spread by rats. He's saying the plague doesn't really die, it lies dormant, on clothing or whatever, and then one day a rat could pick up the plague, go to a city, and spread it again, and then people would have the bubonic plague and die. This is his analogy to the Nazis and the Nazi ideology. Makes sense to me. Obviously, this author who wrote this article in Psychology Today is saying that this is the Christian white male, because that's who he was just talking about. That's the only person he has specifically identified as being this person who has hidden rage, racism, sexism, and all this stuff. You can't see it on the surface, but this is who he is secretly inside. This is the punishing person. This is who he tells you the punishing personality is. This is his poster boy example. even more than the political example that he gave throughout most of the article. He's like, the political right in America is this person, but the poster boy for this person is the Christian white male. He didn't even mention his politics here, although we have to assume that's a part of it. But he says that the left and right has no real meaning to the people he's really talking about. So he's throwing away everything he just said. So he said, oh, it's Republicans, it's the right wing in America that I'm really angry at. That's what he says throughout the whole article, basically. But then he throws it away right here. He says, but it doesn't really matter to the punishers. Some punishers live on the right, some on the left, right? Some punishers. So the article is about punishing personality type, right? It says all of that left and right has no real meaning to them. Who is them? The punishers, the people he's talking about in the whole article, the punishing personality type. People like Hitler, people like Stalin, the people he's talking about who are writing bills trying to control people, all that stuff. They just want to punish. And the only example he gives, if he is a Christian white male. If who is a Christian white male? The Punisher. And does the Punisher have to be the punishing personality type? Does he have to be on the left? Or does he have to be on the right, like the article suggested throughout the whole article? He says no. He says some live on the right, some live on the left, and all that left and right has no real meaning to them. We can assume it has meaning to him, but that wouldn't make sense because he names Stalin in the same breath as Hitler and calls him a punisher, and we know he doesn't like punishers, or at least that's the impression he's trying to give us. Therefore, he must be against the punishers who are also on the left or claim to be on the left or whatever. So he's throwing away the politics right here. And then he's giving us an example of who he's talking about. The poster boy, the Christian white male. And then in the very next paragraph, he gives an example of a white male, Albert Camus, who he does not think hates women, blacks, Latinos, Jews, and all that stuff. He's not a punishing personality. Therefore, we can, through logic, extrapolate that the only thing that makes someone a punisher, according to his article, is that they are a Christian. Because this white male right here is okay. This guy's okay. The Republicans and stuff, he says, it's not really that. Some punishers are on the left, some are on the right. So it's not really their politics, even though he doesn't like the right-wing politics of America and he hates it, and that's my impression from what I read here, but it's not really that. But the poster boy is the Christian white male. But it can't be that he's a white male, because he then quotes a white male thinker, a philosopher, Albert Camus. And the only difference between Albert Camus and a Christian white male is that Albert Camus is an existentialist and not a Christian, to the best of my understanding. Then he finishes. He does the so he's equating the Christian white male to Nazis, and then he is finishing with saying the punishing personality type never leaves and always returns, like the rats, the plague rats that could return, according to Albert Camus. You can bet on him. Who's him? Who does he always call him? Notice he uses them throughout the article, but when he says him, it's about the Christian. If he is a Christian white male, he doesn't use this language anywhere else in the article that I know of. Instead of saying he says they and them, talking about the punishing personality. But when he finally says he, the he's talking about, he tells you he is a Christian white male. So the punishing personality type never leaves and always returns. You can bet on him. So now it's not a woman, it's not anybody, it's not really a personality type. It's a he. It's a man. And who is that? The Christian white male, because that's the only one he calls he. Before that, he calls it them. You can count on him, and you had better prepare for him. He would punish you for a nickel. Now he's telling you what this person is according to him. He would punish you for free. He would pay to punish you. Go ahead and give him an inch. He's using reverse psychology, saying, go ahead, give him the benefit of the doubt for a moment, but it'll hurt you if you do. Go ahead and try to appease him, meaning go ahead and try to make peace with him. He's using reverse psychology, right? See how well that works. So he's really encouraging people not to give someone the benefit of the doubt, not to try and make peace with them, and to see if you agree with them. He is completely obsessed with punishing you. And he will, so he's vilifying this person. He is completely obsessed with punishing you, and he will not rest. He's tired. He's the forever enemy. He won't even rest until he has punished you to his complete satisfaction. And we know that this punishing personality type is never satisfied. He just wants to punish always, forever. He can't be appeased. He can't be satisfied. We know this because he told us that right at the beginning. I can't remember where. He exists to punish. He would do it for free. It's everywhere, right? Looked at the way they do. He says it somewhere that this is like all they do. There, right here, right at the beginning. An unquenchable desire. It's unquenchable. He says it's unquenchable. Meaning this person will forever have the desire to inflict pain on others by punishing them. The punishing personality type. So he tells you right there that this person would never stop. And then he tells you at the end, he pretends to say, give them an inch, try to appease them, see how well that works. But then he tells you that he will not stop. Will not rest. So it's pointless because this person's not a human who can be reasoned with. This is not a person who has ears to hear, whatever. This person's like the Nazis at their very worst, evil, blah, 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 blah. This is what this article is. So I just wanted to point that out. That's just one article. There has to be like a bajillion things out there like this. Because when I hear young people talk, they have this implicit idea that this man is talking about. That the white Christian male who is older is an automatic villain and bad guy. And I never thought I would be talking about this, to be honest. Because as someone who grew up, a millennial, yeah, like I said at the beginning of this video, I was taught about like the history of slavery, that white people enslaved black people in the past in North America. I was taught that stuff. So I felt like it was inappropriate or whatever, it would be inappropriate for me to talk about someone being racist against me, because there's no such thing as racism or prejudice or anything like that against me, because I'm white and the majority of people in my country are white, and so it couldn't happen. But here I am talking about it because it is happened. It has happened. This article is the real thing. I'm not saying this is and this isn't everybody. And when I do hear young people talk about it, I can tell that most, like, I don't know if they fully believe. I don't think they fully believe it because they're kids and they can see that they know white people and Christians who are just normal people. So there's a cognitive dissonance between the reality, like what they actually see in their interactions, and what they're being told is true. So I think young people are struggling with that. And the only thing I could say to them is, yeah, there are some people like this. Some of them are white. Some of them probably do identify as Christian, but some of them are black. Some of them identify as Buddhist. Some of them, this is just a human thing. Some human beings are sexist, some are racist, and it's not even like they're not. It's not even like most people. It's not a cult. With some people, it is a cult. Where like the KKK, that's a racist cult. But with some people, it's just a bad breakup or something. So a man has a bad breakup, and then he talks bad about women for like a month or something. And if he has good friends, his friends say it's not women, you had a bad experience, or blah, 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 blah. It's just being human. You don't have to be white to have these conversations. And we know that. We see comedians talk about it all the time. Black and white comedians talk about how hurt they are from, like, male comedians will talk about how hurt they are, when women expect them to read their minds. Men like to be told what's true. They don't, or whatever. Those kind of jokes. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I'm saying. Like these are just human things. And yeah, racism is a stronger, worse, and in my opinion, this is just my opinion, a more obscure thing, because racism really has to be taught, right? Because it's very specific. But like when little kids are little kids, people make fun of each other for everything. You're too short, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. That's what children do. It's a human thing. If you make that into a cult and you carry that into adulthood, you could end up, in the KKK or something like that. But it's very rare. Of course it's wrong. Of course those people exist, but it's a human problem. It's not a white people only or anything like that. So this is what it is, and I thought I would record this video and talk about it because this article was just so blatant. And because I've seen it, I've seen this talking point, and maybe it's just because I am white and Christian and male that people, that I notice it. But maybe this is a problem now with our society where my demographic has become a target. And I hope not. It scares me to death. Obviously, because I'm just human. So the only thing I can do is talk about it and point it out. And thank you for listening.